You are successful, you work hard, and let's not forget to mention you make good money because that's important. Like the money's good, right? But here's the thing, deep down inside, you know that your income is capped by the number of hours you work. Or if you're salaried, you're not gonna make more no matter how many hours you may work, whether it's overtime, on the weekends, during vacation. So that's the reality of it, right? And what I like to call this is being stuck in the money trap. I've been there, you may be there, or you may have been there and you're afraid you're gonna go back there. Today, we are changing that. I wanna share 3 mindset shifts that went from me having my time become my money to having my money and my assets work for me. I like to call this the prosperity pivot. The first mindset trap that I had to shift from was the scarcity mindset. And I will tell you all day long, I have a scarcity mindset. Broke is always around the corner. There's never enough. And that leads to you always being in hustle culture. And I know at one point in time, we were all glorifying that type of culture and you gotta work hard and team no sleep and team work hard. Y'all, that leads to burnout. Let's be realistic about it. I'm not saying don't work hard, but I'm saying there's only so much you can do and you need to be able to accept and realize that. The scarcity mindset comes from there's not enough to go around and you have to constantly ration and you always have to be aware of what you have and what you're doing because eventually it's going to end. And you can have this mindset from your upbringing, from work, from different relationships you had in your life. But I'm telling you, it is okay to shift from that mindset and have an abundance mindset. One mindset shift that I had to make in this is not how much work I can do or how many hours I can work or how late I can stay up to get something done or how early I can wake up. It's how much is my time worth and how much is my value worth. And if you start looking at your time as something valuable and how much an hour you're actually worth, it shifts things around for you. This is also like the thought behind passive income. How are you making money while you sleep? Because let me tell you this, what I have not seen or what I do not know of is any female that is waking up at 3:30 in the morning, working out, doing cold plunges, doing all the extreme things and still showing up and being present for her family and her kids and herself. A scarcity mindset. And we do not want a scarcity mindset over here. What you want to do in order to pivot from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset is shift to a value-based thinking mindset. What that means is ask yourself this. If you took a 2-week vacation, would your income drop? Would you feel the effects of that 2-week vacation? If the answer to that question is yes, then you're still trading your time for money. And that's something that we do not want to do. We want to get away from trading our time for money. In order to do that, one of the things that I know wealthy people do, we're gonna focus on systems and processes and assets that can scale our growth beyond what we are capable of doing ourselves. That means you may have an upfront investment of some time, whether it's a couple hours to weeks or months, like learning a new skill, but over the long haul, eventually you will provide less time to that and that will still return some form of value to your life. It might take a little while for your business to get up and running, but if you take 2 weeks off of vacation, once your business is up and running, is there an impact to your life? If the answer is no, then you have now traded your time and value and switch them around. Now, I would challenge you to identify 2 or 3 things that bring you the most value. And I would ask that you put 80% of your time towards those things. For me, I have been introduced to actively managing my portfolios, trading. I just like to say it in a fancy way. So what that means is I'm going to take some time and develop my ability to actively trade. I'm going to research companies, I'm going to research how they move in the market, and I'm going to back test. It has allowed me to invest a couple hours over the weekend to prep for the next week, and that brings me money when I'm not thinking about it. Now we're going to go into the second mindset trap. A lot of us are familiar with this. I know for sure that I am, and this has gotten me before, but it's risk aversion. Sometimes we are so used to having that steady paycheck, we think, how will we make it if we do not have that steady paycheck? And let me tell you, nothing is guaranteed because at the time I'm recording this, we are 1 month into the government shutdown. Federal work and government work used to be the safe work. But if you allow them to feed you, you also allow them to starve you. So if that's not enough fear for you right there, I don't know what to tell you. Now I get it. Having a stable income is a huge comfort zone. Having health insurance is a huge comfort. But if you realize the value that you have within, staying where you are could be the bigger risk. I don't know how many of you know this, but I spent 20 years in the military. We always ask ourselves the question of, what is the risk of doing nothing? I want you to ask yourself that question. What is the risk of doing nothing if you stay with your steady paycheck that has all the glorious benefits? Are you missing out on the opportunity to increase your income or improve your lifestyle, to give yourself back more time with your family or your friends, or to do things you enjoy? Ask yourself, what is the risk of inaction? So one thing we don't want to do is end up being that hamster on the hamster wheel, and we're just spinning, doing the same thing day in and day out. It might be good for a hamster, but is that good for you? I would argue otherwise. So in order to shift that mindset, this is what we're going to do. Before we go any further, I want to let you guys know, I am not saying that it is wrong to work a steady job and have that steady paycheck and have that comfort of having that. I am the biggest person out there when I say everyone is not an entrepreneur, so we don't need to be telling people to be out here starting businesses and become an entrepreneur. Some people want to work, but what I am telling you is to take some ownership of your financial situation and your life and identify additional sources of income. So one way that we can get past that fear factor and really start earning our value or whatnot is growing our investments and using our leverage. You can do this by investing in index fund or investing in the stock market in good, healthy companies and allowing that money to grow over time as the market continues to go up, and the market always goes up. Something else you can do, something that I'm doing right now, is you can create digital products or you can create content. You can find a side hustle that eventually will pay you when you're not working on it. Like I said, this YouTube video is an example of one. And something else that I like to do, and actually I read this book, We Should All Be Millionaires, and this is where I got this idea from. But if it's something that takes up a lot of your time, like a low value task or something, hire it out if you can afford to do that. For example, laundry or yard work or even cleaning your home. I love to have a good house cleaner. Open up your time by delegating things that you don't need to do or that someone else is willing to do. I think it might be great that we are making good money, we are working hard, and we have a great job. We're successful by book definition. Check block, we're good, right? I think having a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset will hold us back because, again, broke is always around the corner. There's never enough, and you really have to limit all that you do or limit your potential because you don't know how much more is actually left. But with an abundance mindset, that allows us to know there's always more, there's always room for growth, and there's always going to be something else out there for us. We all are worthy of good things, and we are all worthy of wealth. Not only that, but ask yourself, what's the worst that could possibly happen? What is the risk of inaction? You learn a lesson if you don't succeed, and then you can try again. And I'm saying take calculated risk. Don't go all in. Do this over time because it's a marathon. It is not a 100-meter sprint. Be willing to try new things. Be willing to step out. Be willing to trust others to do work that you don't have to do necessarily so that you can open up more in your time and really put your interest in those 2 or 3 things we said we're going to dedicate 80% of our time to, right? Remember this, your income is not a fixed cap. It is a mindset that you choose. So I want you to start thinking in terms of value and not hours. All right, so guys, this is my first video on the prosperity pivot. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I offered you some great tips that you can take back and actually start to do the work so that you can increase your time and actually add value to your life. Let me know in the comments below, what is one limiting mindset belief about money that you're going to pivot away from this week. Next week, we are going to discuss how to start building your first asset with the 3-bucket system. So make sure you subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss that video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.